For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a scorching morning in June 1982, 25-year-old Aaron Fisher loaded his research van and drove into the vast emptiness of Algeria's Sahara Desert. A brilliant geology student from the University of Texas, Aaron was pursuing his passion for rare mineral formations near the ancient Tassili Niger Plateau. He never returned. Despite an extensive international search operation that combed thousands of square miles of desert, Aaron and his essential water supplies had vanished without explanation. For 34 years, his mother Susan and the scientific community were haunted by questions about his fate. Then, in 2016, a routine inspection of his abandoned research van revealed a hidden compartment containing preserved blood samples and a journal that would unravel one of the Sahara's most baffling mysteries. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Aaron Fisher. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. In the spring of 1982, the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert held more than just ancient secrets beneath its shifting sands. For 25-year-old Aaron Fisher, a promising geology graduate student from the University of Texas at Austin, those secrets represented the culmination of years of research and dedication. What began as an ambitious solo expedition to study rare mineral formations in the Algerian Sahara would soon become one of North Africa's most perplexing mysteries. Aaron was no amateur adventurer. His colleagues at the university described him as methodical, careful, and exceptionally well prepared for desert conditions. He had spent 3 years studying desert survival techniques and spoke fluent French and Arabic, essential skills for navigating both the terrain and local communities. His research van, a modified Land Rover equipped with state-of-the-art geological testing equipment, carried enough supplies to sustain him for 6 weeks in the field. On April 15, 1982, Aaron made his final satellite phone call to his mother, Susan Fisher, from a small outpost near the Tassili Niger Plateau. His voice brimmed with excitement as he described the unique mineral formations he had discovered. "Mom, this could change everything we know about the region's geological history," he said. Those would be the last words his family would hear from him. The following 3 weeks passed without any communication from Aaron, not unusual given the remote nature of his research sites. But when he missed 3 scheduled check-ins with his university supervisor, alarm bells began to ring. Local authorities initiated a search, focusing on his last known coordinates near the ancient rock formations of Tassili Niger. On May 12, 1982, a routine patrol by the Algerian border guard made a discovery that would launch a 3-decade mystery. Aaron's research van stood abandoned in a narrow valley, approximately 40 miles from his last reported location. The scene presented investigators with more questions than answers. The vehicle was intact, with no signs of mechanical failure. The driver's door was locked, and the keys were still in the ignition. Aaron's expensive research equipment remained untouched inside. Most puzzling was the absence of his water supplies. Aaron had carefully calculated his water needs, packing 20 gallons in specialized containers. All were missing, along with his personal backpack and satellite phone. His sleeping bag remained neatly rolled in the back of the van, suggesting he hadn't planned for an overnight expedition on foot. The initial search revealed no tracks leading away from the vehicle. The desert winds had erased any traces within days. The van's GPS unit, cutting-edge technology for 1982, was functional but provided no clues about Aaron's movements in the days before his disappearance. His detailed research notes ended abruptly on April 18, 3 days after his last phone call. Local Tuareg guides, known for their extensive knowledge of the desert, joined the search efforts. They found the location of the van peculiar. It was parked in an area with no obvious geological interest, far from the mineral formations Aaron had been studying. The guides noted that the region was known for its treacherous landscape, with deep canyons and unstable rock formations that could easily trap an unwary traveler. As days turned into weeks, the search period expanded to cover over 500 square miles of some of the most inhospitable terrain on Earth. Helicopter surveys, ground teams, and local trackers found no trace of the missing geologist. The brutal summer heat was approaching, and hopes of finding Aaron alive diminished with each passing day. The disappearance of Aaron Fisher would become a defining case for the Algerian National Police, particularly for Inspector Karim Ben Ali, who would spend the next 3 decades puzzling over the conflicting evidence. The abandoned van, perfectly preserved in the dry desert air, stood as a silent witness to whatever tragedy had befallen the young scientist. But as the initial investigation would prove, the desert guards its secrets well, and the truth about Aaron's fate would remain hidden in the shadows of the Sahara for many years to come. Inspector Karim Ben Ali arrived at the abandoned research van as the morning sun cast long shadows across the Saharan landscape. At 38, he had investigated numerous disappearances in the desert, but something about Aaron Fisher's case immediately struck him as unusual. The precision with which the young geologist had planned his expedition made his sudden vanishing all the more disturbing. The first 48 hours of the investigation proved crucial yet frustrating. Ben Ali methodically documented every detail of the van's interior, noting the orderly arrangement of Fisher's equipment and personal belongings. The presence of his passport and wallet ruled out any possibility that Aaron had simply walked away from his research. His mother, Susan Fisher, had flown in from Texas, providing valuable insights into her son's character and preparation for the expedition. Aaron wouldn't have left that van without a compelling reason, Susan Fisher explained during her first interview with Ben Ali. Her hands trembled as she held her son's field notebook. He spent months planning this trip. He knew exactly how much water he needed, exactly where he would be each day. This wasn't some reckless adventure for him. This was his life's work. The search and rescue operation expanded rapidly, drawing resources from across Algeria. Helicopter crews swept the vast expanse of the Tassili Enadjer Plateau, while ground teams combed the labyrinthine canyons that carved through the ancient rock formations. The extreme temperatures soaring above 110 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and plummeting at night complicated the search efforts. Ben Ali's team conducted a thorough analysis of Aaron's research materials found in the van. His academic papers revealed a brilliant mind, methodically working through complex geological puzzles. The last entries in his official research log focused on unusual mineral formations in the sedimentary layers of the plateau. However, these documented sites were miles from where the van was discovered. Local Tuareg guides provided invaluable assistance, sharing their deep knowledge of the region's geography and its dangers. They pointed out areas where flash floods could sweep through narrow canyons without warning, and identified caves where a person might seek shelter from the elements. Yet each new lead ended in disappointment. Susan Fisher remained at the search base camp for 2 weeks, her hope diminishing with each sunset. "He was more than just my son," she told Ben Ali during one of their evening discussions. "Aaron was going to revolutionize our understanding of this region's geology. He had such passion for the science, for discovery." The investigation faced mounting challenges. The harsh desert environment quickly degraded any physical evidence that might have existed around the van. Tire tracks, footprints, and other potential clues vanished beneath the constantly shifting sands. The vast search area, combined with limited resources, forced Ben Ali to make difficult decisions about where to focus his team's efforts. As the first month drew to a close, the search parameters had covered over 1,200 square miles of terrain. Teams had explored hundreds of caves, canyons, and rock shelters. They had interviewed every nomadic group and desert outpost within a 100-mile radius. The case file grew thick with reports, photographs, and witness statements, but the central mystery remained unsolved. Ben Ali found himself returning repeatedly to the van, searching for details he might have missed. The vehicle's location made no sense from a geological research perspective. The missing water containers suggested Aaron had planned to be away from the van, but his remaining supplies indicated otherwise. These contradictions haunted the inspector, suggesting something more complex than a simple case of a researcher losing his way. As pressure mounted from both the university and diplomatic channels, Ben Ali faced the difficult reality that the investigation was reaching its practical limits. The harsh truth of desert disappearances was that sometimes the landscape itself became an impenetrable barrier to discovery. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that Aaron Fisher's case was different, that somewhere in the vast expanse of the Sahara, crucial evidence remained hidden, waiting to be uncovered. As summer turned to autumn in 1982, the search for Aaron Fisher gradually wound down. The intense Saharan heat had taken its toll not only on search teams, but also on their resolve. Inspector Ben Ali found himself facing the hardest decision of his career, acknowledging that despite the extensive resources deployed, they had reached an impasse. The vastness of the search area proved to be an insurmountable challenge. The Tassili Enadger Plateau alone covered over 27,000 square miles of terrain, much of it virtually inaccessible. Every passing sandstorm further diminished the likelihood of finding new evidence, erasing whatever traces might have remained of Aaron's final movements. Susan Fisher returned to Texas with an empty suitcase where she had hoped to carry her son's belongings home. She left behind a small network of local contacts who promised to keep searching, though hope dwindled with each passing month. The university eventually cleared out Aaron's apartment, sending boxes of research papers and personal effects to his mother's home in Austin. Through the mid-1980s, occasional reports would surface of possible sightings or discoveries, but each lead evaporated under scrutiny. A French hiking group in 1984 reported finding what they believed to be recent geological survey markers near the site of Aaron's disappearance, but investigation revealed them to be from an older expedition. A Tuareg guide's tale of strange lights in the desert night proved to be nothing more than smugglers' vehicles. Inspector Ben Ali kept the case file on his desk, reviewing it periodically as new investigation techniques developed. The advent of satellite imaging in the late 1980s offered brief hope, but the technology of the era proved insufficient to reveal new clues in the vast desert landscape. The case began gathering dust, joining other unsolved mysteries of the Sahara. The geological community felt Aaron's loss deeply. His preliminary research findings, published posthumously in academic journals, hinted at the significance of his final expedition. Colleagues spoke of his innovative approaches to mineral analysis and his theories about the region's geological history. Yet without his final data and conclusions, the full impact of his work remained unrealized. Susan Fisher channeled her grief into establishing a scholarship fund for geology students specializing in desert research. Each year, she would give a speech about safety protocols and the importance of thorough preparation, lessons learned too late from her son's disappearance. Behind her public strength, she continued to struggle with the uncertainty of Aaron's fate. By the early 1990s, the case had become a cautionary tale told to young researchers preparing for field work in remote locations. New protocols were established requiring regular check-ins and emergency beacons, safety measures that might have made a difference in Aaron's case. His van, preserved by the arid climate, remained in police custody, occasionally examined by new investigators hoping to find something their predecessors had missed. The years transformed the mystery into legend among local communities. Tuareg guides would point out the valley where the van was found, sharing theories about what might have happened to the young American scientist. Some spoke of ancient spirits that guarded the desert's secrets, while others suggested more mundane but equally unprovable explanations. Inspector Ben Ali never fully accepted the case's unresolved status. Even as he rose through the ranks of the Algerian National Police, he kept a photograph of Aaron Fisher in his office, a reminder of the one case that continued to haunt him. He maintained contact with Sus and Fisher, sending brief updates whenever the smallest new detail emerged, though these became increasingly rare as the years passed. The case file, labeled simply Fisher, Aaron Missing Person 1982, grew thin with time. The one-surgeant telexes and diplomatic communications faded, and newer cases demanded attention. Yet something about the disappearance continued to trouble those who had been involved in the investigation. The abandoned van, the missing water supplies, the location that made no geological sense. These details suggested a puzzle whose solution remained tantalizingly out of reach. As the 20th century drew to a close, it seemed the mystery of Aaron Fisher would remain one of the countless secrets buried beneath the Saharan sands. But the desert, patient and unchanging, would eventually reveal what it had hidden for so long, though in a way that no one could have anticipated. In the sweltering summer of 2016, 34 years after Aaron Fisher's disappearance, a routine inventory of archived evidence at the Algerian National Police Storage Facility led to a breakthrough that would shatter decades of speculation. Two junior officers, tasked with cataloging cold case vehicles, made an unexpected discovery while examining Aaron's preserved research van. The officers noticed a slight discrepancy in the measurements of the van's interior compared to its manufacturer's specifications. Further investigation revealed a sophisticated hidden compartment beneath the vehicle's floor panels, sealed so precisely that it had escaped detection during the original investigation. Inside, they found a metal container holding 3 carefully preserved vials of blood and a leather-bound journal, its pages protected from the ravages of time by vacuum sealing. The journal's contents sent shockwaves through the investigation team. Written in Aaron's precise hand, the entries revealed far more than geological surveys. He had documented the discovery of significant uranium deposits in a remote section of the Tassili Enager Plateau, findings that he had deliberately kept out of his official research logs. More disturbingly, the final entries described his growing unease about being followed and watched during his expedition. Mitchell Fournier, a leading expert from the French Geological Survey, was called in to analyze Aaron's documentation. His assessment confirmed the scientific validity of Aaron's discoveries and their potentially enormous economic significance. The uranium deposits, if verified, would be among the largest ever found in North Africa. The blood samples, remarkably preserved in the climate-controlled compartment, underwent modern DNA analysis. 2 vials contained Aaron's blood, confirmed by comparison with DNA provided by Susan Fisher years earlier. The 3rd vial, however, contained blood from an unknown individual, suggesting a violent confrontation had occurred. Inspector Ben Ali, now nearing retirement, returned to lead the renewed investigation. The journal's final entry, dated April 19, 1982, described a confrontation with an unidentified French mining consultant who had been conducting unauthorized surveys in the region. Aaron had written of his intention to report the illegal activity to Algerian authorities, expressing concern about the environmental and cultural impact of unregulated mining on the ancient plateau. The discovery galvanized the cold case team. Modern forensic techniques revealed fingerprints on the journal's cover that had remained undetected for decades. The blood evidence, combined with Aaron's detailed accounts, transformed a missing persons case into a potential homicide investigation. Susan Fisher, now in her 70s, received the news with mixed emotions. The journal provided painful clarity about her son's final days, but also validated his professional dedication and ethical principles. His final writings revealed not just a brilliant young scientist, but a man of conscience who had stumbled upon something far more dangerous than geological formations. The hidden compartment itself posed new questions. Its sophisticated design suggested professional modification of the vehicle, yet university records showed no such alterations had been officially commissioned. Aaron's journal mentioned nothing about the compartment's existence, raising the possibility that others had been involved in preparing his vehicle for the expedition. As news of the discovery spread throughout the geological community, researchers began re-examining Aaron's published works with new understanding. His seemingly routine mineral surveys had been a cover for a much more significant discovery. The uranium deposits he had documented would have been worth billions, explaining the deadly attention his research had attracted. The breakthrough brought renewed international attention to the case. Satellite imagery from the past 3 decades was reanalyzed, focusing on the locations detailed in Aaron's secret journal. Modern geological surveys confirmed his findings, revealing the accuracy of his work and the magnitude of what he had discovered. The hidden compartment and its contents provided the first tangible evidence of foul play in Aaron's disappearance. The careful preservation of the blood samples suggested someone had anticipated their future importance. Perhaps Aaron himself had recognized the danger he faced. His final journal entries, though detailed, carried an undertone of urgency, as if he knew his time was running out. The discovery in 2016 transformed a decades-old mystery into an active criminal investigation. The preserved evidence, protected by the desert's dry climate and Aaron's own foresight, would finally begin to unravel the truth behind his disappearance. The answers, it seemed, had been traveling with him all along, hidden beneath the floor of his research van, waiting for science and technology to advance enough to reveal their secrets. The discovery of Aaron Fisher's hidden journal and blood samples in 2016 launched an investigation that bore little resemblance to the original search in 1982. Armed with advanced forensic techniques and decades of accumulated geological data, investigators approached the case with resources unimaginable during the initial probe. DNA analysis of the blood samples became the investigation's cornerstone. The 2 vials containing Aaron's blood helped establish a timeline of events, with degradation patterns suggesting they were collected within hours of each other. The 3rd vial, containing an unknown subject's blood, yielded a complete DNA profile that investigators fed into international databases. Inspector Ben Ali, though officially retired, returned as a consultant, bringing his intimate knowledge of the original case to the new investigation. He worked closely with a team of forensic specialists who meticulously examined every page of Aaron's journal using multispectral imaging technology, revealing traces of previously invisible writing and environmental deposits that helped verify the document's authenticity. The journal's contents painted a disturbing picture of escalating tension in the weeks before Aaron's disappearance. His entries described multiple encounters with a French survey team operating without proper permits, led by a man he identified only as P.D. Aaron had documented their movements, including coordinates of their camp locations and details of their equipment information that proved crucial when cross-referenced with historical satellite imagery. Mitchell Fournier's analysis of the geological data proved pivotal. The uranium deposits Aaron had discovered were precisely where he had documented them and bore signs of subsequent unauthorized exploration. Fournier's team identified drill marks and survey markers dating back to the early 1980s, confirming Aaron's accounts of illegal prospecting activity. The investigation took an unexpected turn when researchers discovered a series of French mining company permits filed in Algeria during the same period. These documents bore the signature of a consulting geologist named Philippe Dubois, whose movements in the region coincided with Aaron's timeline. Dubois had gone on to establish a successful mining consultation firm, but his early career records showed numerous connections to unauthorized surveying activities across North Africa. Financial records from 1982 revealed substantial wire transfers to offshore accounts linked to Dubois, far exceeding the normal compensation for geological consulting work. The timing of these payments, just weeks after Aaron's disappearance, raised red flags among investigators. When compared with current satellite imagery, the coordinates in Aaron's journal matched locations where illegal mining operations had later been established. Susan Fisher provided investigators with additional materials from Aaron's university days, including correspondence that mentioned his growing concerns about unauthorized prospecting in environmentally sensitive areas. These letters, read alongside his secret journal entries, revealed Aaron's mounting anxiety about the ethical implications of his discoveries. The investigation team used ground-penetrating radar to survey the areas where Aaron had last been seen. This technology, unavailable in 1982, revealed evidence of vehicle tracks and ground disturbances that had been preserved beneath layers of sand. These findings corroborated the journal's description of multiple vehicles operating in areas that should have been restricted. As evidence mounted, investigators focused increasingly on Philippe Dubois. His company records showed a pattern of involvement in controversial mining projects, often in regions with weak regulatory oversight. Former employees, speaking under condition of anonymity, described his ruthless approach to securing mining rights and his network of connections in the industry. The breakthrough came when forensic analysts matched the unknown blood sample to a DNA profile in the French national database. The sample showed familial markers linking it to Philippe Dubois' son, who had been convicted of a minor offense in 1995. This genetic connection, combined with the circumstantial evidence, provided the foundation for an international arrest warrant. The new investigation had transformed a decades-old missing persons case into an active homicide investigation, with a clear suspect and a compelling motive. Aaron Fisher had not simply vanished in the desert. He had stumbled upon an illegal uranium surveying operation and paid the ultimate price for his discovery. The evidence trail now led directly to Philippe Dubois, setting the stage for a dramatic resolution to one of the Sahara's most enduring mysteries. The arrest of Philippe Dubois unfolded in the early hours of a crisp autumn morning in 2017 at his villa overlooking the French Riviera. At 73, the once powerful mining consultant had built a life of luxury far from the Saharan sands where Aaron Fisher had met his fate. The French tactical unit found him calmly sipping coffee on his terrace, as if he had been expecting them all these years. The evidence that led to this moment had become impossible to ignore. The DNA match through his son's profile had been the key that unlocked decades of carefully constructed alibis. When confronted with the blood evidence in Aaron's detailed journal, Dubois' composed facade began to crack. After 35 years of freedom, the weight of his secrets proved too heavy to bear. During his initial interrogation, Dubois revealed the chilling details of his confrontation with Aaron Fisher. The young geologist had discovered Dubois' team conducting illegal uranium surveys in protected areas of the Tassili-Niger Plateau. Aaron's expertise had allowed him to recognize the true nature of their work, and his conscience wouldn't let him ignore it. He was so young, so idealistic, Dubois told investigators. He didn't understand that some discoveries are better left buried in the sand. The former consultant described a heated argument that escalated into violence when Aaron threatened to expose the illegal operation to Algerian authorities. The blood samples in the van's hidden compartment testified to the struggle that ensued. The investigation revealed an elaborate cover-up spanning 3 decades. Dubois had orchestrated the disposal of Aaron's body in a remote canyon, calculating correctly that the harsh desert environment would conceal his crime. He had then manipulated his extensive network of industry connections to ensure that subsequent surveys avoided the area where Aaron's remains lay hidden. Financial records exposed a web of payments and bribes that had kept the truth buried. Dubois' uranium surveying operation had been backed by powerful interests who stood to profit immensely from unauthorized mining in the region. The discovery of Aaron's journal threatened not just Dubois, but an entire network of illegal mining operations across North Africa. The extradition process moved swiftly, driven by diplomatic pressure and the overwhelming evidence. Algerian authorities, eager to close one of their most notorious cold cases, worked closely with French officials to navigate the legal complexities. Inspector Ben Ali, though retired, was present when Dubois arrived at Algiers International AI. Our port in handcuffs. Susan Fisher watched the news of Dubois' arrest from her home in Texas, finding a bitter solace in the knowledge that her son's final acts had been in defense of the desert he loved. The journal that had waited so patiently in the hidden compartment had finally fulfilled its purpose, speaking for Aaron when he no longer could. Under the pressure of interrogation and faced with irrefutable evidence, Dubois finally revealed the location of Aaron's remains. In a remote canyon, just as he had described, forensic teams discovered bones preserved by the arid climate. DNA analysis confirmed what everyone had already accepted: Aaron Fisher had been found at last. The impact of the case reached far beyond the resolution of a single murder. The exposure of the illegal uranium surveying operation led to a comprehensive review of mining permits across the region. The Algerian government established new protections for the Tassili Enadjer Plateau, ensuring that the deposits Aaron had died protecting would remain undisturbed. Philippe Dubois' arrest marked the end of an era of impunity in the industry. His extensive confession implicated dozens of other officials and consultants, leading to a wave of investigations across multiple countries. The young geologist's death had ultimately triggered the very changes he had fought to achieve, though at an unimaginable cost. The case demonstrated the power of preserved evidence and advancing technology to unlock decades-old secrets. Aaron's foresight in documenting his discoveries and preserving evidence of the confrontation had reached across time to ensure justice would eventually be served. In the end, the desert had not kept its secret forever. Truth, like the relentless Saharan wind, had finally worn away the layers of deception. The resolution of Aaron Fisher's case brought both closure and new revelations that would reshape the geological research landscape in North Africa. In late 2017, following Philippe Dubois' confession, a team of forensic anthropologists made their way to the remote canyon where Aaron's remains had lain hidden for 35 years. The location, a narrow gorge sheltered from the worst of the desert winds, had preserved critical evidence that would conclusively link Dubois to the murder. Aaron's remains, partially mummified by the arid climate, told the final chapter of his story. The forensic examination revealed defensive wounds on the bones of his arms and a decisive blow to the back of his skull. The young geologist had fought for his life that day in 1982, leaving behind the blood evidence that would eventually condemn his killer. The legal proceedings against Philippe Dubois unfolded in an Algerian courtroom, where the former mining consultant faced justice for a crime that had haunted 2 continents for over 3 decades. The prosecution presented an overwhelming case, built on Aaron's preserved journal, DNA evidence, and Dubois' own detailed confession. The man who had lived in luxury on the French Riviera while Aaron's family grieved was sentenced to life imprisonment. Susan Fisher attended every day of the trial, her dignity and composure unwavering as she finally heard the full account of her son's last hours. The journal entries read aloud in court revealed Aaron's moral courage in the face of dangerous men and powerful interests. His final writings showed not fear, but determination to protect the ancient landscape he had come to study and cherish. The impact of the case extended far beyond the courtroom. The exposure of Dubois' illegal uranium surveying operation triggered a comprehensive review of mining permits throughout the Sahara region. Investigators uncovered a vast network of corruption that had facilitated unauthorized prospecting in protected areas for decades. Aaron's death had inadvertently launched the largest environmental protection initiative in the region's history. The Algerian government moved swiftly to secure the uranium deposits Aaron had discovered. The site, now designated as a restricted research zone, became a testament to the importance of ethical scientific practice. New regulations required all geological surveys to undergo rigorous environmental impact assessments and cultural heritage reviews. For the scientific community, Aaron's recovered research provided invaluable insights into the region's geological composition. His meticulous notes, preserved in the hidden compartment of his van, contained data that would influence mineral studies for years to come. The University of Texas established the Aaron Fisher Center for Ethical Geological Research, ensuring that his legacy would shape future generations of scientists. Inspector Karim Ben Ali, though long retired, found personal vindication in the case's resolution. The nagging questions that had troubled him for 35 years were finally answered. The photograph of Aaron that had watched over his office for so many years was returned to Susan Fisher, its purpose fulfilled. The Tuareg guides who had searched for Aaron in 1982 conducted a traditional ceremony at the site where his remains were found. They spoke of how the desert, patient and unchanging, had kept watch over him until truth could prevail. The canyon where he died became known among local communities as Fisher's Rest, a place where researchers now pause to remember the cost of scientific integrity. Philippe Dubois' confession exposed not just a murder, but a systemic failure to protect both natural resources and the people who studied them. His testimony implicated corporate executives, government officials, and other consultants who had profited from illegal mining operations. The resulting investigations led to dozens of arrests and the cancellation of numerous questionable mining permits across North Africa. Susan Fisher used the settlement from civil proceedings against Dubois' estate to establish a scholarship fund for environmental geology students. The award specifically supported research into protecting sensitive desert ecosystems, ensuring that Aaron's final cause would continue through future scientists. As the case files were finally closed, Aaron Fisher's story became more than a cautionary tale. It stood as a testament to the power of preserved evidence, advancing technology, and unwavering pursuit of truth. The desert had kept its secret for 35 years, but in the end, justice had emerged from the shifting sands of the Sahara.